All right, so what is up, everybody? We're here with We Love Hip Hop. We got another episode of Montreal Connected. We're with, one of the legends of the West Island here. I got 6'8" KP. What's up, bro?
Talking on name dropping, walk around in my name popping. Shawty causing the same problems, but she giving me brain top.
What's up, bro? You already know, coming straight from the 6'8", I'm trying to just spread the word and let everybody know what we got going on down here, you know?
Facts. Me too, bro. And I'm really happy to have you on the show, bro. It's been a little time
coming,
to
be here, bro. Trust me, I'm really happy to be here.
All right, so let's start it out simple, right? We're going to get into music. We're going to get into all that. But, this sort of new audience, I want to sort of expose them to who you are and a bit of your story, you know what I'm saying? But let's start simple. Let's start with your name. What does the KP stand for? And what does the 6'8" mean?
Well, let's start it simple. I'm going to start with the KP because KP is something that, it kind of just grew on everybody. I started making music, let's put it this way, when I was younger, but I wasn't really taking anything serious. I used to just go to the spots where everybody was and just freestyle here and there. So they used to call me KP used to stand for Kid Prime when I was younger, you know? But as I grew older, people just got used to KP this and KP that, and it just stuck and it just became a thing. So I didn't even have no control over that. You know, and the 6'8" is definitely the neighborhood. You know, the 6'8" is the West Island, Pierrefonds, Saint Jean. There's a couple of hoods that's just represents the 6'8", you know?
Yeah.
So the 6'8", so me being me, I just took my KP and put the 6'8" right behind it and made 6'8" KP, you know?
Yeah. For anybody who doesn't know, the 6'8" is more referring to pretty much everywhere between the 13 and St. Charles on the Pierrefonds side of the island. More or less, some people, debate a little bit if it goes all the way to St. Charles or not, but I got to include all of it.
St. Charles is the 6'8", but it's the edge.
Yeah, the boundaries,
The boundary, the edge of 6'8". So
it depends which part you're in.
Exactly. Yeah. Definitely.
Okay, fam. So yeah, bro, good to know that for everybody. So the next thing I wanted to ask you, bro, where were you born?
I was born in Philadelphia.
That's
so
crazy.
Me, I'm not from the 6'8", you know? I'm from Philly. I was born there and I came here about 14 years ago, 15 years ago. So ever since I've been straight in the 6'8". I had my upbringing in the 6'8", but I was born in Philadelphia at the States, United States, you know?
Yeah, so what age did you say you came over?
About 11, 12.
So talk to us what that was like, because I know Philadelphia to Montreal, they're both big cities, but there's some big differences. So what was that like?
That was just I had to get used to a whole bunch of things, you know, because coming from Philly, we had a bunch of townhouses where I'm from, you know, I barely saw apartment buildings and stuff like that. So we had a lot of townhouses and it was more like a community, we had a lot of block parties and things like that. The neighbors knew you. It was tight-knit community, you know? But then I come here in Montreal and the first thing I notice is the French, obviously.
I bet, yeah. What was that
like? The first thing I noticed is what are these guys speaking? I don't understand shit. So
that's crazy.
That was the problem, but I got used to it. They make you go to school in French, so you get used to it. You learn the language, but that was the biggest change for me. The biggest change was the language. Because right now in Montreal, there's a thing where you speak half English, half French, and it's normal to everybody, you know? Exactly. So it's I had to get used to that out of everything.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, the French thing must be a big shock. But I mean, anybody who comes here, you kind of forced to learn it. And, you kind of get over the years. I'm sure you speak pretty good French now, you know?
I could speak it. We could have a conversation in French, but I can't write it for nothing. So it still wasn't my strongest suit, you know? I still never got really comfortable with the whole French thing, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I speak great French. My whole family's French, but I don't write French well because I never have a reason to write it. If I'm writing, I'm going to have a whole bunch of spelling mistakes.
No, that's exactly the point. I never have a reason to write it because I'll have a whole same thing with you. So I don't write it a lot.
Exactly. So what made you come from Philadelphia to Montreal? Obviously you were 12, so I'm guessing it was mostly your parents' decision, but what made that happen?
I don't really know exactly the reason. I never really found out exactly the reason. But if I were to guess, because I was guessing, you know, if I were to guess, I would say, Like we came around 2008, and if you know anything about the States, 2008, the States had a recession, kind of like with COVID, where everything like financial, everything went down type of thing. So if I were to guess, I would say it's that, but I'm not sure 100%. We never spoke about that.
Yeah. So like, have you always lived in the same part of Montreal, or have you bounced around a little bit?
More or less. Like I've been in Montreal, 14, 15 years. I spent couple of years downtown, I bounced to Lachine in downtown a little bit, but the majority of the time I was in the West.
Okay. So I kind of want to ask you, like, give like an explanation to the viewers of like, what the West Island or like the part of the West Island you're from is like, because like when people hear about Montreal, when they hear about the West Island, they don't tend to know much about it because it's it's not downtown, it's like sort of tucked away,
Yeah. The part of Montreal where I am is kind of like if you were to come around here and not know what's going on, it's quiet. It's kind of quiet, you know what I mean? You don't really hear much going on, but there's things happening on every corner of every street. It's just people are spread out, people are partying. There's parties here. There's like Montreal, right where I am. It's like as much as it's French, it's English, So like there's always something going on. There's always something going on. There's always a thing going on in the West or bars and like there's a lot to do in the West. You know what I mean? It's just at the same time, it's not as tight knit community as like Philly, where I'm from. It's not, but more or less, I could walk down the street and like if I drove down the street or walked down the street, I would recognize a lot of people. Like we know each other, So the West is more like that. Like people. You grew up with them, you've been in the West your whole life. So obviously there's some people you saw grow older, some people that saw you grow up. You just know people. It's just about that, but not really tight knit, Yeah,
if you live in the West, you either know the guy or you know someone that knows him,
There you go. You either know someone or you know someone that knows him, and you small world. So you probably end up meeting people that know somebody and then like, yo, I met you through this guy, So
exactly.
That's exactly how the West is. It's not really tight knit, but everybody knows somebody that knows somebody. So
perfect. All right. So now that we've kind of given like an overview of like you're growing up and how you got to where you are now, I kind of want to go through your musical history a little bit. So how did you first start making music? Like how did that go for you, and how long ago was that?
Oh, that's actually a funny story. When I first started making music, it was like, I was like 13 maybe. But what we used to do is we used to go to the crib with my cousins and just get high and freestyle, which is like what I think a lot of like first time artists do, I used to just go to my people's house, cousins, friends, whatnot, get high and freestyle. You know what I mean? And they used to tell me, oh, you have a knack for this, because I used to just freestyle for hours. So they'll tell me, you have a knack for this. And I'm like, yeah, sure. But I didn't know anything about going to a studio. I didn't know anything about recording. I didn't know anything about nothing, So we used to freestyle all through I was young. And then I think I turned like 15, 16, and somebody introduced me to a mic. Like I went to their house and they had a whole setup. So I didn't know about a setup. I didn't know about FL Studio. I didn't know about, all these things. So he showed me a little bit. He's like, I record myself. And he showed me how he does it. And I said, all right. That's how I got started mostly.
Yeah, that's a game changer when you find that person, right?
When I found out you could record yourself, I'm like, what? Like, I didn't even know that, bro. What? Show me the mic. Show me the stuff right now. Let me learn this.
Yeah. Look, let's segue into the next one. What's your recording process? Like when you decide you're going to make a song, how do you do it? Do you write? Do you freestyle? Do you punch in? Like, what's your process? I've been like my natural process. Like when I really, really, really go to the studio, I usually write down everything. I write it down. I practice it. You know what I mean? Like I write it down. I practice it to the point where if I go to the studio, I'm knocking down 3-4 songs in like an hour time. Like I practice it. But I have been trying other things. Mm-hmm. Like I've been open to other things. I've been going to the studio with other artists and I've seen how they work, and it's kind of different from how I work. But I've tried the punch in, punch in every bar, think about it, punch in every bar. I've tried the freestyle straight the whole song and like cut out what you don't like and freestyle over it. Like I've tried multiple things, but I still feel like writing it down and practicing it and getting it down and going to the studio is the best way for me. Yeah. So where do you go to record now?
Where do I go to record now? Well, I go to my boy's studio is All Star Studio. Shout out to All Star. Shout out to Lone Star. That's my engineer. You know, I go to All Star Studio, or I had a setup at one of my cousin's house. I don't really, the setup is not really set up right now. I don't know if you can see this, but there's a mic back here and everything.
Kind of,
So,
yeah.
You see what I mean? Like there's a little mic back here and everything. So the setup is on hold for now, you could say. But we had a setup. He's a good engineer. One of my boys, Brooks. I consider him like a cousin. He's like a good engineer. So I go either Lone Star or Brooks, All Star Studios, or the setup we had built. So
Fire. Okay, so since, like I said, I keep saying it's a Toronto audience, right? So if someone's coming from this interview and they're going to go check your music for the first time, what's the one song you want them to go to first?
Oh, I want them to go hear Can't Fold.
See that I'm watching it grow. Whatever you need, I get it for the low. I'm riding through summertime with the snow. My niggas bring heaters out when it's cold.
Yeah.
Can't Fold. I want you guys to go put up 6AKP- Can't Fold, or if I had a second choice, I would say put 6AKP No Pressure. Those are the two ones that I'm most proud of, I can say. You know, they're the ones that got the best feedback, the best outcome, and the best response from the fans, you know. So
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if this is true. I'm not 100% on this one. Did you used to make beats? Did you used to fuck around and make beats?
I don't even know how you know that. Shit. A lot of people don't even know that. Yeah, I used to fuck around and make beats at some point. I tried. I could still put me in front of FL Studio. I could still make something happen, but I'm not I didn't really focus on that. You know what I mean? So I don't have the full game on it. But yeah, I used to fuck around and make beats. I used to fuck around and engineer other people and try to learn how to engineer myself and this and that. So I have a little bit of knowledge of that stuff, but I didn't really go that deep into it, you know?
Okay. So on to my next question. I wanted to know, and we'll do one for in the city and one for everybody in general. Who would you like to collaborate with? So like I said, like one from the city, like someone out here who you'd want to collaborate with. And then who's like your dream all-time collabo of like an artist who, not someone who's not around, but someone who legit, like there's a chance if you got up, you know, you can get a feature from.
Somebody in the city, there's a lot of people in the city I would love to make music with, but in due time, you know, like I always tell myself, in due time, these things will happen. Mike Shab, I really fuck with his music, you know, and Nate Husser. I mean, like, there's a lot of people in the city that are doing good, you know, but if I were to choose, like, just off the top of my head, just like that, Mike Shab and Nate Husser are two people that I'm really looking forward to maybe getting a chance to work with one day, you know?
Yeah, I feel like those two are probably the next ones to really take like the torch of the city, you know, because like I do a lot of these interviews and I ask a lot of people who the local people who they'd like to collabo with, and like, yo, those are the two that about half the people are saying. So
you see what I mean? No, that's good. That's good because I mean, like, I the thing is, I was listening to Mike Shab and Nate Husser before they became what they became now. So like, I really got a chance to see their growth and like learn from it myself, you know. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm taking the inspiration from. Like, okay, I'd make a song with them because I really got a chance to see from 4, 5, 6 years ago what their songs were like to now today what they're putting out and how they're, you know. So
yeah. Okay, so like, who would you want to collabo with? Someone outside of the city, like a big artist who. If you had to pick one. Like, let's say right now I was gonna pay for a feature for you for whoever you wanted. It cost you nothing. Who would you pick?
Snoop.
Yeah?
Snoop.
How come?
No, if, ands, or buts. Snoop. I mean, like, I grew up on a lot of Snoop Dogg, and you know, it's just I would definitely make a song with Snoop. Like, I don't have like a specific reason, but if I were just off the top of my head to make a quick guess, yeah, I would definitely want a chance with Snoop to make a song with Snoop before he's out of the game for sure. You know?
Yeah.
He's getting to that time, you know. So
I think that's a pretty good answer. It's not the regular answer that everybody would give, bro. Well, I'm probably gonna be going broke if we ever did. So
you know, but like the come up from that is like getting a song from a legend. It's like getting a song from Jay-Z, you know.
Yeah,
like, it's gonna definitely put you up there, no matter what, you know.
Okay, so I seen that like for a little while there, you had like a SoundCloud Buzz going.
Mm.
You want to talk to me about that? Like, I was only able to see that you had something going. I know SoundCloud isn't really anymore what it used to be, but kind of talk to us about that.
I mean, when I was on SoundCloud, I was more associated with this producer that I haven't spoke to and I haven't seen him in a while. I don't know what he's doing right now, but his producer name was Doughboy or D6. So he was a pretty good producer on SoundCloud, and he's from right up the block, you know? So we had a big collab where he would send me a lot of songs and I'd record on them and we'd help each other build on SoundCloud. And yeah, I built a nice little buzz on SoundCloud. A couple of songs got a couple of thousand views and plays, and they were getting replayed around places. And SoundCloud was good, but like you said, SoundCloud kind of died out for me.
Yeah.
Where I wanted kind of something more.
Yeah.
So I kind of pushed it towards YouTube and iTunes and Deezer and TikTok and all these kind of things where I could get the song more publicized. But SoundCloud was a good startup. That's what I kind of started with. That was like the first thing I started with.
So, like, I know we're in a city, right, where it's real hard to, you know, start getting views. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know people who celebrate a couple hundred views, and in most places, you don't celebrate that, right? Like, and I've seen, you know, you've done some pretty good numbers on your songs. How do you promote your music? Like, what do you do? Because I know everybody's a bit different when it comes to that.
How I promote my music, I try to go like both ways, as in through the internet and in person. I think the first thing is to try to get everybody in a neighborhood to fuck with the song and mess with the song and mess with the vibe. Because if you have a video with 2 people in it, rather you have a video with like 20 people in it, it makes a whole different look. You know, you have 20 people that are actually in there bumping your song and they're in the video, you know? So imagine the fallout of 20 people sharing your stuff or bringing it out. Like, I always try to go with personal first. And then there's always, you know, you have to use a little bit of online, you know, put it on Instagram and put a little like backing on that. And, you know, you publicize it online on Twitter and on all these websites that Facebook and all these kind of websites that just push TikTok, especially. I'm not really used to that yet, but TikTok and stuff, all these things you put your music on and you put a little bit of money behind it, because you definitely need to invest in yourself. Yeah. So you put a little bit of money behind it and you get it viewed by the most people as possible. And that's how from the inners, it's like meeting with people and actually getting them to fuck with your song in the neighborhood. But on the outside, it's more like getting the most people you can to see it, you know, because people won't really know you, I guess, unless it's put in their face.
Yeah.
So get as much people to see it as you can. And out of 10,000 people, maybe 1,000 people will watch it, but that's 1,000 people.
Yeah,
know?
For sure.
So that's not bad, you know?
Yeah. So what advice would you give to someone like, let's say like I'm a rapper, I'm about to start out, I've recorded a few songs, that's about it. And I've got a little bit of money and I want to put some money behind my music. What would you recommend I do?
Get yourself some articles. Get yourself some articles and get yourself some publishing. You know, try to find somewhere where, because there's different types of things. There's websites where DistroKid. I don't really know a lot of other websites because I personally use DistroKid, but that puts your songs. It doesn't cost much. It's like $20, $30 a year, and you can put your songs everywhere: iTunes, TikTok, everywhere, Facebook, YouTube ads, all these type of things. It puts your music on all these platforms. That's one thing that's very good. And then there's also articles, like I said, like paying for articles. You actually have to pay for these articles, or sometimes you don't have to pay. Some articles do it based on the status or the influence you have, but you mostly get some articles about your name, so it goes on certain sites, so certain people see it. You know, post your songs. Try to get your songs on. If you know an influencer, or if you know a site that's really like an Instagram page that's really popping, try to talk to them. See, you know, can you put my song on? If they like it, they'll put it on for you. And you know, like try to also connect. Like when I say in person, try to connect with people that have a platform and see how they fuck with you, and if they fuck with you, what advice they can give you. Maybe they'll help you put some stuff on their platform, and vice versa. You're helping them, they're helping you. It's more making connections and trying to find the right platforms to publicize your stuff, you know?
Yeah, facts. Okay, so, I mean, Montreal's a real weird city, right? Like, there's a lot of love in the city, but there's also a lot of people that, like, just don't care about the music scene out here. What do you think we can do to maybe get more people from out here bumping the music from out here?
More things we could do. I mean, there's a lot of things like ciphers, like things that'll bring different artists from different areas together. But that's kind of hard to do based on a lot of things,
Mm-hmm.
But try to get as different artists from different areas on one platform at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have people from, let's say, Lachine looking at the West artists. You have people from the West looking at Lachine artists, Bourgeois artists, or wherever in Montreal, It's all about putting like things like features or ciphers, or I think that's the best way to connect with like different neighborhoods. If you have a big fan base in this neighborhood and so does he, put it together. Now you both have each other's fan base kind of thing, or not as much, but more so.
Yeah, I think more artists from the city need to start working together. Like, people do, but it's usually just with like the group that they know.
There you go.
There's not a lot of like crossing over where someone from the 6'8's going to someone from like over here and like all that.
That's the thing, but that's due to a lot of other things that like are not part of music. But on the music side, like there's a lot of things that won't happen because it just doesn't, like, people just won't link up and be that,
Yeah,
cool,
yeah.
So.
And also, sort of to lead off that question, like a lot of people in Montreal, I'm sure you've heard this before, like people aren't going to respect you in Montreal until people outside of Montreal respect your music and stuff like that. So what do you think's the best way to get people from outside of Montreal to, watch the city, watch our music, that sort of thing?
That is more like, again, it's like publishing. If you get the right publishing, and target your fan base to the United States or something like that, Like, there's some people that do that pay for publishing, or they get into publishing and they publish for just their city. But I feel like if you're in your city, you should be able to just connect with people, go to places, go to the clubs, connect with the DJs, connect with those type of people, and you'll automatically start getting more recognition. But for outside the city, you need to publish because people that don't live in your city do not know you.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean? As much as you want to connect to the DJs and you might get known in your city, people that are outside the city won't know you unless I guess you have a family member over there or something. But unless you publish yourself, you're not going to get known outside the city. That's where the articles come in and stuff like that. Different websites that are not in, some websites are in France, some websites are in,
Mm-hmm.
So publishing is a big part of the deal. Distribution and publishing is a big part of being an artist. It's not just going to the studio and making the song. You have to be able to publish yourself the right way, find the right places to put your article or your name or your newest hit or your newest upcoming album or anything. Like, you find the right places to put it and automatically you're going to get those views.
Okay. So what do you think as like an up and coming artist in the city? What's something that, like you really feel like the city's missing for artists? Like, when you sit back, you're like, fuck, I wish we had this like they have in the US or like they have in Toronto. What do you think we're missing?
Well, there's a thing in the US that they're doing that I feel like they need a lot more of this in the States. In Canada, in Montreal per se. I don't know if you know On the Block freestyles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's I don't know. There's a lot of people that would know what this is, but it's On the Block freestyles where they bring a lot of different artists, unknown, known. They bring them in and they have them freestyle on a platform, and it's all the same platform. So if you were to go on their page, you would see unknown people, known people, and it's all one thing. I feel like we need more of this in Montreal where we don't have. There's not really a platform for artists to just go and perform a live session where you have every single artist from everywhere in the city coming, Mm-hmm. They don't really have something like that. So I feel like that's a big thing. That's something that would blow the city up. A lot of those would blow the city up. A lot more looking into the English artists, because the French artists here get recognition, but it's French. The city's French. Mm-hmm. A lot more looking into the French artists. Connections from here to Toronto would be good.
Yeah, facts for sure.
That would be
For
good
sure.
because Toronto has the English lockdown. Of course, you got Drake and you got all these other people, Nav and this and that. But connections from here to Toronto would be great. Having a look from Toronto's A&Rs and Toronto's people down here in Montreal, they would see a lot of things and they'd be surprised.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, like this is what we're trying to do with this show here, trying to bring some eyes from Toronto over to the city. I mean, it's a struggle because the city's definitely lacking, some of the structure for artists and some of the things to give them the right platforms. But, hopefully one step at a time, we can change that, So I wanted to lead on into the next thing, right? Like I found from, I mean, I've listened to your music for a while, right? But like, more recently when we get an interview booked in, I have to go and do my research. And I found through the research I did on you, and I want you to talk about how, this sort of stuff can be important. I find you're a very humble person, right? I want to read a quote here from one of your other interviews that I think speaks a lot to the type of person you are. Where is it? I have it written down here. You said, taking an L is not a loss, it's a lesson. So you want to talk to us about being humble and sort of like the mindset? I think that quote sort of says a lot about your mindset.
Being humble is like something, not a lot of people have it and not a lot of people know how to acquire it, but like I had to acquire it through a lot of things, you know what I mean? But being humble is just like I said there, taking an L is not a loss, it's a lesson. It's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to sit back and cry about it? Or are you going to learn from that and keep going and do something better,
Yeah.
Like you just have to sometimes take a step back. Because a lot of people are moving so fast forward, they don't even know when to stop, Like you got to take a step back, take a break, sometimes analyze stuff and see what your next move is,
Yeah.
So being in certain situations, certain lifestyles and certain people around you and whatever, you just have to step back and analyze everything before you take your step forward. Because if you rush too fast, there's another saying that I know, it's like, those who think they're standing strong, be careful not to fall. Like, you know what I mean? As soon as you get cocky headed and you think nothing can happen to you, something's going to happen to you.
Yep.
You lost track of the step back and analyze your situation. You just kept going forward. Something's going to happen to you. You weren't thinking.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think you're too strong. You stand on 10 toes, but don't think you're too strong, because the minute you start thinking you're too strong, something will show you that you're not, and what are you going to do?
Yeah. So. No, it's good to hear someone with that type of mentality, bro. I meat a lot of people who have the exact opposite mentality, and it doesn't end up serving them well in the long run.
But yeah.
I kind of want to rewind back and let's talk a little bit more about the West Island rap scene, the 6'8" rap scene. I know there's quite a few rappers, there's some talent. There really is in West Island, bro. There's a lot of talent. So who are some of your peers? Who do you see as like your peers with the West Island rap scene?
The West Island rap scene is a big scene right now. But there's a lot of people that they're still on the come up, and there's a lot of people that are way further than where I am. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm just gonna shout out a few names that I know that they're talented artists. AZ Persian.
Yep.
If you were to look it up, talented artist. But Rich, RICCH. He's still on the come up, but he's very talented, very diverse, and very he has a lot of hits coming soon. I personally know. There's Loogie Badness. I made a couple of songs with him. It's been a while. We have a tape coming. We have a whole tape set. We just haven't dropped it yet, but we'll speak about that after. But there's Loogie Badness. There's King K. King K is a very talented artist. He's making a come up. There's actually there's a girl that I know too. She's a very talented. There's a couple of girls that I know that are very talented artists, but they're still on the come up too. There's a girl named Batty, very talented artist. I know her personally. I know a girl named Ace 2 times, but she doesn't really put stuff out there, but she's very talented. Like Montreal artists, West Island artists are chock full of talent. There's just not a lot of them actually out there yet.
Yeah.
So once eyes, that's why I said we need more eyes, because once the eyes start looking at us, they'll be surprised at what they see.
Yeah. What about on the French side? Who are some of the guys from the West on the French side?
Oh, definitely number one. One of my homies is.
I think we're thinking of the same guy.
OG.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. This guy, he's been on a roll. He's been on a roll since a while now. So Moji's a heavy guy in the Montreal French. I won't lie to you, I don't really dabble in too much of the French artists. There's also Jacques Castro. I want to shout them out. Been very good. You know, at OGs, exactly. They've been good. They've been doing a lot of shit that I know of personally. I have a personal friend, Caspi, who's I haven't heard a song from him in a while, but when he was making music, he's coming back. I'm sure he's coming back. He told me he has some stuff coming. Everybody told me that they've been recording him and stuff, so he has some stuff coming. I have a personal friend, French and English. He does both. Caspi. Yeah, there's a lot of French artists here, but I don't really know too much of them. Me, I'm more English, so I don't really dabble in too much of the French people, but Modi, Jackie Castro, Caspi, yeah.
And just for everyone from Toronto, like the part of the West Island we're talking about, there's still a lot of French people, but it's a lot more English than like if you're in the East End or something, you know, like pretty much everyone there can speak English or speaks English regularly, where there's other places in Montreal where it's
a lot of people here that don't even speak French at all.
That's crazy. Facts.
So, the West Island is most. It's like out of the whole Montreal, the West Island is one of the most English parts. You know.
Yep. Facts. Okay, bro. So I know you wanted to talk about some of your future projects you got coming out. So whatever you want to talk about, bro, I want to hear it.
Well, we got a lot of projects coming out. I have a whole mixtape that is mostly just on standby with Lugi Badness. 6 songs on it. Really nice. It's like an EP, very short, but very nice. Couple of features. So that's coming. The cover is made, everything's made, and we're just gonna surprise everybody with it at some point. I have a couple of features that are with a couple of the artists that I mentioned before. I have a couple of features that I'm waiting to put out, singles here and there. Mostly I'm just working on trying to make features now with people. So I have a lot of features that I'm excited to put out and waiting to see what people say, you know, like when they hear it. You know?
Thanks, bro. That's good. It's good that you have a lot of work on the way, you know, and I've seen like you have a lot of music out there. You put in a lot of work already. You know, and it's like, I always love to see people from the West Island doing well, right? And honestly, like, I'm sure some of the people you mentioned are going to see this interview. And any of the people you just mentioned, if you're not releasing music, I can't really help you. But if you're somebody who he mentioned, you're releasing music, tap in with me and we could do an interview. You know, even if you're on the French side, you know, if you could, either one of your mans could come and speak English, or if you could do a little bit of English, I speak enough French.
I need a translator.
I mean, I have an interview that I'm like booking where that's probably how it's going to be, because the guy's super French, but he wants to do an interview, you know? We got to make it work, you know?
For sure. You got to make it work, for sure. It's going to be something else, though, still. You know?
Exactly, bro. So, listen, I really appreciated the interview. Like I said, we got one of the legends of the West Island here, you know?
Appreciate it.
Everybody go check out his music. You know, you want to plug a few more songs, plug anything else, or?
I just want to say, like, you know, if you're looking for Instagram, Twitter, anything, just look for 68KP. And on every platform, TikTok and everything is 68KP. I got a couple of songs out there and I got a couple of more songs coming out. I appreciate this interview. Shout out for having me, you know. Shout out for having me in the interview. And I'm hoping people really fuck my shit, you know?
Yeah. I got one last question before we go, all right? So this is a Toronto network. Who are some of the Toronto artists that you with or you could see yourself working with in the future? You know, maybe they see this.
There's a couple of Toronto artists that I've actually met that I really want to go back and like chill with again and really get a feature down, you know? At some point, I remember I was chilling with, it's not nothing crazy. It was kind of like more of a meeting, but I met Lil Beretti. I would really like to get something down with him, you know, at some point. I would get something down with Pressa too. Like, there's a lot of artists in Toronto that I really want to get something down with. There's a lot, you know. But that's just because Toronto is more like, I don't know what's going on in Toronto with music, you know, but everything in Toronto is just more captivating to me. So there's a lot of people in Toronto. There's Smiley I would make a song with. obviously the Drake and the Nav and those type of people, obviously, but
Yeah.
there's a YG and Smiley and Moretti and all these people that they're doing big things in the music. And if I ever got a chance, I would probably take it, you know?
Yeah, facts, fam. All right, bro. So yeah, like I said, I appreciate the interview. Everybody like, comment, subscribe. Go check out his music. Go follow his pages, bro. And yo, he's got some stuff on the way. Trust me. It's going to be big things. So, you know, have a blessed day. Peace out.
Don't know.
We love hip hop.